So here looking at the Ping G430 iron. So I've got another video on our channel which has reviewed the woods and the hybrids solely, but the iron we thought was worth having a little look at separately so we could spend just a little bit more time on it, because Ping have done something a little bit more different with this head. So one of the things over the last few years that we've seen is that as lofts have got stronger, spins come down, ball flights come down. Yes, centre of gravity's got lower in heads, but we've seen the flight come down quite a lot. So one of the things that several of the brands this year have noticed and actually kind of put out information on, Mizuno said 50% of golfers need help getting the ball airborne. That's something that's really been taken notice of by a few brands this year in particular. Ping with the 430 being one of them. So what have they done? What's particularly visible on this head is what they've done in the back of the head. Now this is called Pureflex. That's P-U-R-F-L-E-X. So what does that mean? Pureflex is really, what they've done is they've gone to a hyper 17-4 stainless steel face, so thinner, lighter face to get a little bit more flexion. So it's a 3% thinner face, which technically gains a little bit of ball speed. But what they have is you've got 7 flex zones in the back of the head. So each of these little sections, you can see the join. The join, that's a different part which can move. So what that allows is a little bit more flexion of the face, more bending of the face, which reduces spin a little bit. It increases ball speed, but most importantly, helps get that CG lower. A little more flexion gets a little bit more launch out of it. So it also has an effect on the sound as well. The acoustics with that kind of composite material in the back, that all kind of helps to not make the head sound too clicky. You might say, well, how much difference can that actually make? And it's certainly something where we will always look at something through a slightly skeptical pair of eyes whenever a new bit of tech comes in, because how much more can really be done, especially when we're looking at a head of this kind of size. Well, the answer on this one is quite a lot. So yes, they've got the CG a little bit lower by saving a bit of weight on the face. When I say a little bit, we're talking about 0.05 of an inch across the whole set. However, you don't have to move the centre of gravity very far to see a noticeable change in performance, particularly on things like drivers where the head's bigger. Part of that lower CG is also about, again, much like with the woods, fairwoods and hybrids, getting that centre of gravity lower in the head, more down the bottom part. That's where we're most likely to misstrike the ball. So that puts the centre of mass behind that contact point and helps keep ball speed high. So that's really critical to, one, getting that launch angle up a little bit, but two, maintaining ball speed. But again, ball speed with that face flexion is something that's really been, I wouldn't say it's enhanced a little bit, but ball speed and launch. So what I'm going to do initially is just do a quick hit of this so you can hear the sound onto it. So historically, heads like this, where they're using thinner face, faster face, more flexion, start to sound pretty clicky and pretty harsh. So this isn't going to sound like a forged blade. However, it's not as harsh a sound as one might expect. So there is still that little bit of a pop, that little bit of a click. We're going to get that. I'll do one more just so you can hear that sound a little more. You're going to hear that out of a face like this, where you've got several different component parts. You've got a bit of tungsten in the sole. That always affects the sound. It's going to make it sound and feel a little bit harder. But it's not an unpleasant sound. It's not one of those sounds where you kind of reel off of it. There is a little bit of hardness to it because of the nature of the materials, but it's not a brutally hard sound. I think it's certainly, when you put it side by side with some of the other companies' products, it's going to sound favourable if you prefer a slightly softer note to it. The big difference here, and I've got a bit of data that I gathered slightly earlier with the i230 iron versus this. Now I used that head, it's a comparable Ping product. They've done sort of smaller variations of this, saved weight in the back, moved the centre of gravity lower. But the reason I use that head is because the loft's different. So we'll move over to the data on the screen now. So the difference in loft between these two heads is a good 2.5 to 3 degrees. So we'll see the 430 data on the top half, the 230 lower. So yes, the 430 has a lower spin. It's designed to. That's all part of the mechanisms of that thinner face, lighter face, more flexion, lower CG. That always brings the spin down, to be expected. The bit that really stands out is, considering this head is 2.5 to 3 degrees less loft, it's launched almost 10% higher. It's launched nearly 2 degrees higher. And okay, marginally shallower angle of attack. If I were to try to, mitigate as much as possible, I'd say, okay, there's at least 1.5 degrees difference. That's going to change it very, very slightly. But what we can see from this is you've got 1.6, 1.7 degree higher launch, 1.8 degree higher launch actually, with a little less spin. And now those swings were slightly lower speed with the 430 head. You got a little bit more efficiency off the face. That smash at 138 versus 136. So we're getting a little bit more ball speed, partly the lower loft, partly the face. But the fact that it's kicked that launch angle up that much, that's really, again, for most lower speed players, that's a really, really critical bit, because you can actually maintain some flight and control out of this head whilst gaining the forgiveness and the ball speed that the face flexion and the thinner face and the tech does. So many of the heads nowadays come out low and flat and you just can't flight them. You can't get any carry, so your distances bunch up. This head really does kick that ball flight up, really very impressive. It's not, they've not done anything really kind of otherwise really funky with the design to change that too much. And one would say that's actually quite a funky design in the back, allowing that much movement and putting in all those different segments to the back of the face. But that launch angle is really quite significant, because that then allows a player to get some height on the shot and get some control into greens without giving up a strong loft and therefore strong ball speed. Now, again, with Ping, you've got the opportunity to use power spec, which is 1.5 degrees stronger on loft than standard, and a retro spec, which is, I think it's 1.5 degrees in this model. Historically, it's been 2. I think it's 1.5 degrees. No, it's 2. Sorry, standard loft on the 6 irons at 25.5, and retros at 27.5. So we can gain 2 degrees of loft, which again, the combination of those two, that can be really pretty powerful in getting forgiveness, ball speed, and that height that as fitters we're always craving out of irons for people. That also means not having huge gaps at the bottom and no gap at the top. So from a distance gapping point of view, that should help get that consistency of carry distance progression through the set. So something which I knew was going to be, having hit it a little while back, having a snapshot of it, I knew it was going to be pretty good, but actually really pleasantly surprised at how much extra launch angle we've got there. And I think that's going to be something that's really critical to how well I think this product's going to do this year. So credit to Ping for what they've done with this club. They haven't just gone searching out yardage. Granted, some of the changes are designed for ball speed. They're never going to try and rein that back. However, that extra launch angle this head is getting is going to be really critical to being really user-friendly. So I think that is a club head which I wait to see with interest the moment we get that into the studio from a fitting point of view. I think this is going to fly. So well done to Ping on this product. I think it's going to be a great one. So thanks for watching. Check out all our other videos on the channel, any of our other product reviews and explanation of what we do here in the studio. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell icon, and we'll see you again soon.